where you're at right now with this, but I know you had to make a choice a few years back. Do I want to work in the sanctioning body and serve the racers, or do I want to be a customer of the sanctioning body and race with the racers? And you made the hard choice of working and stopping racing. How's that feel?
Well,
don't get yourself in trouble here.
No. Let me tell you something. I didn't stop racing. It's not just Score here in Mexico. There's other local races so I'm still active in racing. I still race. But yeah, not in Score. I can't. And it's funny because when I've been racing, and I was racing with a really good team and driving for them. I wasn't spending my money, which was even better. And I told Roger, hey, I want to keep racing, and we worked it out and said, well, I think as long as you don't win, we'll be fine.
As long as you don't win.
Yeah, I think as long as that wasn't really like nice, but no, it was true. I mean, he was totally direct, but being as good as he could with me. And he said, I think as long as you win, we won't have a problem, because it wouldn't look pretty good that our director was winning races. And so we go ahead and race San Felipe, and you were the race director that day, and I win. So and then Roger's like, did you really win? Like, yeah, well, let's talk about this. But anyway, it just one thing led to another, and when you close the finish line, when you finish the awards, I mean, it's just, there's a feeling of accomplishment that I can't not explain, but sometimes it's even better than winning a race.
Yeah. It's a big responsibility. Huge responsibility.
It's a huge responsibility.
And I can attest to that, yeah.
And yes, definitely, I'm still racing. I don't miss racing in Score, because I think what I'm doing right now is different, not bigger or smaller, just different, and I love it. Sometimes things go wrong. Most of the times, thank God, things go well, and so you learn every race. But yeah, the what you feel after just shutting everything down, it's awesome. Then move on to the other one.
So we're getting into an area where I want to spend some time talking. There's a couple of things that I want to reference about this. You said when things go wrong, things go right, and there's a lot of things that can and sometimes that do go wrong with any form of motorsport. But before we travel down that road, I want to circle back to Baja in general, or more specifically Ensenada, and a change that I've brought up a couple times on this podcast with people. I think with Matias Arjona at one point. He's been on the show as well, by the way.
Okay.
And that is the transition of during the 2000, whatever we want to call it, 7, 8, 9, 10. I know in Mexico they called it the crisis, the economic crisis.
La crisis, yes.
Yeah. So I was in Southern Baja for the majority of that, and ultimately ended up moving back to San Diego in 2010. But something that I have recognized both in La Paz and Ensenada is kind of a rebirth of the towns in a way that they have become more authentically geared towards themselves. And I don't know if you're getting what I'm saying there, but where I feel like at one point in time there was a push to appeal to the tourists that came to visit those towns on their terms, which ultimately was not authentic. When the tourists stopped showing up during those time periods, the towns were forced to kind of reinvent themselves and appeal to themselves.
And that's exactly what happened. They went. The Secretary of Tourism worked hard to try to get the nationals actually to be tourists in their own state or in their country, and that's when and I'm talking about Ensenada, when Valle de Guadalupe with their wines and all their festivals, and I mean it grew so much that and we have the cruise ships that still come in every week, and I mean there's so many things happening in Ensenada right now that it's hard to get a hotel room on the weekends.
Which to me, and where I was going with this, is it's a testament to authenticity. You know,
Yes.
it's one thing to create an experience that you think somebody wants or will enjoy, and it's another thing to create an experience that you know you will enjoy, or it's, if we wanted to speak in broader terms, to create an experience that you think a tourist is going to want to enjoy versus create an experience that you know your own townspeople will enjoy. That actually and ultimately becomes a more successful endeavor. And I think we can even extrapolate that even to just being a human. You know, if you try to be somebody you think somebody is going to like, typically that's going to fail. But if you just are yourself and be content with yourself, you end up making better, long-lasting, more genuine friends as a result.
Yeah, exactly.
So I was curious, just as a lifelong resident of Ensenada, if you agreed with me and saw that, and you actually backed it up with some statistical
totally, and that's
evidence.
exactly what happened.
Yeah. So real quickly, just because you mentioned it, Guadalupe, it's mind-blowing what's going on there. I mean, I remember, I think it was 96, and that might have been the last time, we raced down the Arroyo for the 500 and maybe even the 1,000, the Guadalupe Valley wash right there, which obviously would never happen today, I'm assuming.
No,
what a change.
That's a protected area. And I raced that also. I did that race. The one we were talking about, we went to La Misión, and we were on the highway to Cantamar, and then went over to Catecate. I did that in 7S. I love that course. It's a shame we can't do it anymore.
Did you win?
But no.
I won it in Class 1.
Thank you for saying that, but I didn't. My brother got it stuck in Guadalupe Wash, and we weren't winning. Actually, that year, Malcolm Binji with the 4x4 was ahead of us.
Yeah.
But we were ahead of Scott and a bunch of the guys that were in. It was big. That class was big back then. Yeah. So we were running in second place because my brother, first of all, broke the lift springs and then got stuck. And
you're throwing your brother under the bus.
Well, he died also, so he can't defend himself right now. So I
Sorry. Well,
no.
So Guadalupe Valley, I mean, to me, is it's mind-blowing what's going on up there. And in some way, I mean, it's awesome for the economy. It's awesome for lots of things, but it's also kind of a bummer because it was once like this little hidden gem that was hardly anybody knew about.
and it's growing too much. Now someone has to put a stop to it also because it's going to grow so much that it won't be that appealing anymore.
Right. It will be like what we were talking about, less authentic. Do you, with your involvement in all things municipal, I mean, are they making moves at a government or some level to stem what's going on from a growth and development standpoint?
Yeah, they're working really hard to control how it's growing, and also the problem actually everywhere we have the same problem. It's water. There's not enough water to I mean, now, it's Guadalupe is mostly for tourism and to go to try their wines and all the restaurants. Before you used to say, well, we're going to go to Guadalupe. Well, there was 2 or 3 options. Well, there's 100 options.
Yeah.
But now they're growing their grapes somewhere else because there's not no more water, not enough water for how much it's growing. But yeah, for racing purposes, there's no way. That's all protected now, and we don't even think about going that way.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so the president and race director of Score International, you have been basically involved, for the last, is it 6 years now, 5 years?
Yeah, we came in 2013. The company Roger bought the company at the end of 2012.
Yeah,
and that's when it started.
And you had a relationship with Roger that stemmed back. I mean, basically, as did I, through the Wide Open stuff. But he raced with you in your 7 truck a few times, right?
Yes. A couple of years actually. We had so much fun. I mean, because it was. That's what I love about racing locally here, because you really race for fun.
Right.
And we were pretty successful also, but we did it for fun.
Sure.
And then he invited me to come into his program and race with him also, and so yeah, we had, and we're still very good friends. I mean, I want to say really that I've never had a problem with him, and he's a good boss, good friend, and it's really good.
It's kind of like a little storybook fairy tale in all reality. I mean, if you think about that, where you started as a kid, passionate about off-road racing, watching it in the washes, to the point where you're end up racing with and buddies with the guy who owns the boss, and you're still friends. I mean, it's a great story.
Yeah, and how it started, it was really funny because he was calling me and I wasn't answering because I was working in the ranch. And one day I called him back to see, because I had a bunch of missed calls. You know, I'm not very good at calling back. and and anyway, I call him and he's like, "Well, hey, I'm glad you called me because I have something important to tell you." He didn't ask me; he told me. He said, "Let me get out. Let me park because there's people in the vehicle." And that was like a secret. And I said, "Well, what's going on?" I asked him. Well, he said, "I bought a title and I want you to take over. I want you to run it." And it's like, "What did you do?" I was kind of scared. "What did you do?"
Yeah, what did you do now?
Yeah, what did you do? Yeah, exactly. He said, "Well, I bought Score." And I'm like, "Oh my God." And and he said, "I wanted it to be a surprise for everyone, but not to you, because tomorrow everyone's going to know that you're going to be the race director." But I didn't know.
Yeah.
So he didn't really ask me. He told me, but I'm super glad that happened.
Yeah, that's awesome. Really cool. Well, so I steered us away from this topic right as you started talking about, I guess we could summarize it, the danger. And where I'm going with this right now is
we talked about things went wrong and things went right.
I don't want to dwell on that, and that's not the intent, but I do want to bring up something that I believe is near and dear to both of our hearts right now. And I'm going to butcher his name, but we have a buddy that got hurt, not in a Score race, but in another race here a couple weekends ago on a motorcycle. Is it Josear? How do you say his name?
Well, his name is Jose Armando Carrasco.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah, and in Facebook it's Josear, but just abbreviating. But it's Jose Armando Carrasco.
And I want to use this platform to raise awareness for the situation. But the irony of it is that I actually met with him probably 2 or 3 months ago. He was I was looking for an employee for the business I work for, Jackson Motorsports Group, and he was recommended as a potential hire by Robbie Pierce, the owner of Jimco Racing, and that came about because Jose Armando is friends with the engineer at Jimco. So, long story short, I went and had lunch with Jose. And we talked for a couple hours, and he definitely was looking for and wanting a part-time job. And because I'm a racer, I was able to kind of parse this out and figure it out. I ultimately asked him, I said, "Hey, are you a full-time racer looking for a part-time job? Or are you a part-time racer looking for a full-time job?" And I don't mean to make light of any of this, and I'm not. And like I said, I want to raise awareness for the GoFundMe fund that I believe has been started for him. But we talked long and hard about the dangers of riding and racing motorcycles, and it hit me like a ton of bricks when I saw the post that he'd been hurt, because God, we just were talking about how dangerous it is and how long was he going to continue to do it, and he's got kids. And so my first thing I want to ask you, this is the first I've talked to anybody about it other than what I've seen posted on Facebook. Is he doing okay?
Yeah, he's doing much better. I think he already went through like second or third surgery. He's stable. I think it's just going to be a matter of time, and a long time for him to be back. And but he has a bunch of broken bones and some. But the critical stage, I mean, he's already cleared that, and so it's just going to be a matter of a few surgeries and time.
So, are you aware of the GoFundMe account?
Yes.
Can you give just on air here a way to find that? I mean, I'll figure it out and put the link in the show notes. But if you could just say it online, if you know it, or on air.
You know, I don't have it. I have it on my phone here. But okay. Anyway, his dad sent it to me. We're gonna post. We're gonna put it on the Score site also. It's gonna be everywhere. He's a guy that we all like, and I mean, he's a really good racer, and we will help anyone. But I mean, we know him. I know his dad pretty good, and so it was pretty bad to see someone that's also successful with us. I mean, he's been racing Ironman. I mean, a guy like that to have an